What's up, guys? This is Derek from moreplatesmoredudes.com. Today we're going to be going over my old How to Get Shredded for Beginners article. I never actually made a video for it for some reason, but I definitely should have, and this is kind of going to be the video to go along with the article. So this is pretty much just a general overview of how to get shredded. It by no means delves into intricate details behind it, but it gives a general overview of what you should be doing. So to get started, there are a lot of misconceptions around getting very lean, like sub 8-9% body fat, and the overall lack of knowledge is one of the main culprits of why so many people in the world are overweight, even though so many people go to the gym. When you go to the gym, it's actually kind of rare to see somebody who looks like they lift. You know what I mean? So even though there's tons of people out there lifting on a regular basis, not many people are actually lean enough that you can adequately see muscle separation or any abdominal definition whatsoever. It's actually very rare to see anybody who's under 10% at all, to be honest, and that's mostly just poor diet choices. There's a saying that's I forget where I heard it, but the saying is a skinny guy with abs is like a fat girl with big boobs. It doesn't count, or it's not impressive. I have no idea where I heard that quote, but it is kind of true. Anybody can starve themselves to get ripped, but that is not the way you should approach your fat loss goals, as you will end up damaging your metabolism and strip all the lean muscle mass off your body, leaving you looking like a bone rack. And that's what a lot of people do, especially women, when they want to get really lean. The key to getting shredded is to slowly restrict your body of energy. While doing this with calorie reduction, weight training and cardio, you can slowly peel weight off your body without slowing down your metabolism too much, and eventually and ideally end up in the middle of the single digits body fat percentage wise, like 5 to 9%, without having to sacrifice much lean muscle mass, or any, ideally. So it all boils down to your overall calorie intake per day. So in simple terms, your body requires calories to give it energy. Your metabolism burns up a certain amount of calories and energy per day based upon your body composition, your hormonal profile, your activity level, your age, among a variety of other factors. In order to lose fat, you simply need to eat less, so take in less energy than your body expends each day. If you're functioning in a calorie deficit / energy deficit, your body is burning more calories than it is taking in. Consequently, it will turn to stored energy to provide it with the energy it needs to fuel the difference of calories during that day's activities. So, for example, let's say your body burns 3,000 calories a day, hypothetically, and you're eating 2,700 calories per day. You're operating at a deficit of 300 calories. Thus, your body needs to resort to stored energy, fat storage, glycogen stores, muscle protein stores, to expend those other 300 calories you didn't provide your body with that day. So the disparity between what you eat and what you burn each day creates an energy difference each day, which is measured in calories, and it pretty much more or less determines how much fat you lose over a span of time. So the most common mistake I see when it comes to dieting and when guys try to get shredded, but they can't, the first I'll ask them how their diet is, and they'll claim their diet's perfect. But then they ask why they're not getting leaner, even though their diet's perfect. That in itself should tell you your diet isn't perfect if you think it is and you're not getting where you want. The thing is, guys, while eating clean food is an extremely important factor in determining your body composition, the actual amount of calories you take in per day is what will ultimately determine how much fat you lose or don't lose. So 99% of these guys who claim their diet is in check don't actually eat in a calorie deficit, and that's why they don't lose weight ever. Even if your diet is 100% clean and you're getting all your calories from chicken, rice, and broccoli, you're not going to lose weight if you're not in an energy deficit / calorie deficit. So basically, you need to count your calories if you want to get ripped. You can get away with eating clean and losing weight without counting calories, but then you're basically just taking shots in the dark with your diet and aren't taking a calculated, efficient approach to your dieting efforts. Anybody who eats clean and gets as lean as they want without counting calories at all is still in a calorie deficit. They're just unaware of it because they don't count their calories, and their positive results are essentially just accidental. As a result, they can lose weight too fast and lose more muscle than they should, or lose weight very slowly because their calorie deficit is too small, or they can not lose weight at all if they aren't calorie counting and they are eating a greater than or equal amount of calories to their basal metabolic rate, which is also known as the level of calories your body will maintain its weight on. So basal metabolic rate is commonly referred to as your BMR or your maintenance by a lot of guys. The first thing I recommend you get right away if you don't have it is a food scale. An accurate food scale for measuring out and counting your calorie intake per day will soon become your greatest weapon used to wage war on fat. Knowing exactly what your calorie intake is each meal per day will let you know if you're achieving your calorie intake requirements of each day necessary for fat loss. In my article, I link the scale that I use, and you can check it out if you want. Can you get shredded using If It Fits Your Macros dieting as long as you count your calories? Your body can't tell the difference between the calorie of a donut and the calories in a clean food source. Your insulin response will simply vary according to the glycemic index and like sugar content of a type of food, but your body will still lose the same amount of weight on a scale regardless if your calories are all coming from Twinkies or they're all coming from clean food sources for the most part. If a calorie deficit is maintained, you will lose fat regardless of diet composition. So you can get shredded eating shitty food. But that absolutely doesn't mean that macronutrient ratios or food quality doesn't matter. They definitely do. And if you eat crappy food to hit your calorie goals, you'll more likely than not suffer performance-wise in the gym by losing way more muscle than you should. And that's a big hole in the whole if it fits your macros things, in my opinion, is... it's not as much if it fits your macros, but more the people who do if it fits your calories type dieting. Because when you're not hitting specific macros, you're putting yourself at a potential risk for way more muscle loss than you would if you had a good macronutrient ratio set up, as well as hitting your calorie goals. So, figuring out your calorie intake for the day, figuring out your BMR, your energy intake, the first thing you want to do is calculate your BMR if you don't already know what that is. This must factor in your activity level as well for the week. You can easily find on Google several BMR calculators that will roughly let you know how many calories your body expends each day while still taking into account how much exercise you complete each week. And I'm not going to lie, I find these calculators very hit or miss, and they can be off by up to plus or minus 500 calories at times, which can cause significant confusion when you try to create your diet and you lose weight too fast, you don't lose weight at all, or you start gaining weight, and you have no idea where to start kind of thing. I suggest if you're actually clueless about your BMR, you use the calculator to figure it out. But in order to ensure you actually find your BMR with a higher level of accuracy, this is kind of a thing I do, I suggest you eat a caloric intake equivalent to that of your calculated maintenance level of calories for the first week of your diet. So whatever your BMR is that you find with the calculator, eat at that level for your first week. This week will be used as a feeler week to assess how off the calculator was from your actual BMR. So for example, if the calculator says your maintenance is 3,000 calories and you eat 3,000 calories every day for a week straight, but you lose 2 pounds, then it is obvious that the calculator was off by a decent amount, and then you can adjust your caloric intake accordingly relative to what your actual BMR most likely is. Or if the calculator says your maintenance is 3,000, you eat at 3,000 every day for a week and you lose no weight, and you gain no weight either, then you can obviously conclude that 3,000 is actually your maintenance level. See what I mean? So this feeler week should be used to kind of more decisively own in on what your actual maintenance level is. It's very useful to find this number as close as possible because then you can be much more accurate when calculating your macro and calorie intake each day and know what to expect results-wise at the end of each week. And once you figure out with a somewhat close level of accuracy what your Maintenance slash BMR is, then you can create your fat loss diet and figure out what you should be eating each day and the amounts. So since this article's for beginners, I'm going to assume that you haven't calorie counted before, or if you have already, then you're already ahead of the game and know a bit more of what to expect. But anyway, so what should you start your calorie intake at for a cut? So what I like to do is I calculate my BMR, do the feeler week kind of thing, and then I subtract 200 to 300 calories from my maintenance. I approach fat loss the same way I approach bulking up. So that's slow and steady. So you'll be surprised just how fast you can cut fat with a calculated and educated approach to the process. I feel that a 500 calorie deficit or greater is simply too large of a deficit to start out at for a natural athlete, as you'll be sacrificing more muscle mass at a quicker rate. You'll get leaner faster, but you'll also lose lean muscle at a faster rate. And if you're an enhanced athlete, then it's a bit different, but I would still, you're still going to experience metabolic slowing when you're at a calorie deficit. So I still recommend doing the exact same thing, even if you're enhanced, unless you have like an impending photo shoot or special event that's like 6 weeks away or something that you need to crash diet for, then it's a bit different. But overall, you should allocate a good amount of time to your cut and follow the slow, steady approach. Yeah. So the slower, steady approach of reducing calories slowly to preserve more muscle and keep your metabolism firing as fast as possible is ideal. If you take off 300 calories from your maintenance and start there, the scale will start going down and you will notice a reduction in body fat. I only suggest increasing the deficit, so further reducing your calories per day once you plateau. So when your weight loss plateaus, then you can choose at that time to either cut your calorie intake by another 100 to 200. Ideally, just 100 is what I'd recommend. Or you can add another cardio session to your weekly routine, or you can increase the length of your current cardio sessions by like 5 minutes or something like that. So these will all increase the disparity between your daily caloric intake and your maintenance calories, consequently breaking a weight loss plateau. Through this continuous process of slowly adding in more cardio and slowly reducing your calorie intake, each time you plateau, you can continue to get leaner and bust plateaus without wrecking your metabolism and getting stuck spinning your wheels. How much cardio should you do and when should you do it? Obviously, this will be determined more by your availability than when it is optimal, as if you have a full-time job or a very tight schedule, which a lot of us do, you may not be able to do your cardio and weight training at optimal times. The most important thing you must consider is your overall energy expenditure each day in relation to your energy intake, also known as your calorie intake. While it is most beneficial to complete your cardio in a fasted state right upon waking up or post-workout when your glycogen stores are depleted, if it doesn't fit your schedule, it is far more important that you simply get it done at some point in the day than not doing it at all because you couldn't do it at the optimal time of the day. So if your schedule allows it, I think the best time to do your cardio is first time in the morning upon waking on an empty stomach, as your glycogen stores will be most depleted at this point, as you've not taken in any calories yet for the day. You haven't ate yet, and you have been essentially fasting in your sleep. Thus, your body will tap into stored fat to provide the energy it needs to get through the cardio session. The second best time of day to do your cardio is immediately post-workout. This works in the same fashion where your strenuous resistance training with weights will deplete your body of stored glycogen, putting your body in a state where if you were to do cardio immediately after lifting weights, it would need to tap into some stored fat to fuel the cardio session. If you do cardio at this time, it is essential that you don't have your post-workout meal until after your post-workout cardio session if you want to maximize the fat-burning potential of the session. Because if you eat right after your weight training session and then you do cardio after you eat, you have all these stored carbs in your system, and that's basically what your cardio is going to be burning. Regarding how much you do, this will be determined by how much fat you need to lose as well as how you respond to a calorie deficit. I would start off with something easy like 1 or 2 25-minute steady state cardio sessions per week. keeping your heart rate around 140 beats per minute for the duration of the session. Ideally, you would do each session fasted upon waking or post-workout, but they can be completed at any time of the day as long as you get them in. That's the most important thing. It's not going to be a significant difference in fat loss if you do it fasted or post-workout versus another time of the day. You just need to get it in for the most part. Once weight loss plateaus, you can either add another 5 minutes to each cardio session, or you can throw another cardio session in each week at 25 minutes, and then so on and so forth. So, for example, say I was doing, I got up to 30-minute sessions per day, and then I plateaued. I could either decrease my calories, or I could increase my 3 cardio sessions to 35 minutes each, or I could do 4 30-minute sessions that week. Either all those 3 things will increase your calorie expenditure, so that's going to help you bust through a plateau. How fast your metabolism is will determine how low your calories will need to go and how long and how frequent your cardio will eventually need to get very, very lean. One thing you should note, having more lean muscle mass means you can lose fat easier. So as an individual with a larger amount of lean muscle mass than the average male, I can usually get to 8 to 9% body fat with only a couple cardio sessions per week of 25 to 30 minutes. But for someone with substantially less muscle, they may need to be doing cardio every single day for 40 minutes per session to get that lean. And eventually, obviously you don't start off with that much. This solidifies why it's very important to take measures to maintain as much muscle mass as you can while cutting down, as simply having more muscle on your body in itself will make your body burn calories even when you're doing nothing, making getting lean a much easier feat. So, should you use gear or SARMs to help maintain muscle during a cut phase? This is entirely up to you, obviously. It's a personal choice, but any supplement or drug that delivers anabolic benefits above and beyond what your body can deliver naturally will help you maintain a substantial amount more muscle during your cut phase, or even all of it, thus allowing you to get leaner much easier and have a much more favorable body composition by the end of the cut phase with more muscle on your frame than you would have ended up with otherwise. I'm not advocating it by any means, but there's no denying the benefit it would have in a strict cutting regimen operating in a calorie deficit. Let's see. I have this separated into sections here. How should your training style change when cutting versus bulking? I addressed this in my recent bodybuilding myths video. Your training style shouldn't change at all. In fact, you should try and keep everything exactly the same as when you're bulking. If you start going lighter with higher reps on purpose because you think it's going to carve more detail into the muscle, you're going to lose strength quickly and lose muscle density really quickly. Keep your weights the same and try and maintain your strength throughout your entire cut if possible in order to maintain the maximum amount of muscle mass you can. Should you use BCAAs? Well, I don't think they're totally essential if you're on a strict budget. They definitely help preserve your lean muscle mass in a calorie deficit during your cardio sessions. If you decide to use BCAAs, I suggest you drink a couple servings prior to your cardio sessions, as they will help offset the catabolism caused by the cardio session and offset how much muscle you will potentially lose from the session. Although it's probably not going to be much, but anyway. Your BCAA supplement should be calorie-free, or else you're defeating the purpose of taking it. For example, if you're going to do fasted cardio upon waking, ingesting the calorie-free BCAAs will allow your body to preserve more muscle, as when it goes to break down stored muscle protein for energy, it will instead use the BCAAs that you just ingested. But your stored fat that is also being targeted for energy will still be burnt as it normally would in a fasted state. That's kind of the theory behind it. This is because you will still be glycogen depleted from sleeping all night and not having eaten any calories for 8 hours or so. You should try and sleep around 8 hours per night. I linked the BCAA product that I like best in my article. You can check it out, or I'll put it in, I guess I can put it in the link below too, in the video description. The BCAAs that I like, the problem with BCAAs is they don't mix well. They're notorious for mixing poorly and tasting like complete ass. So I've experimented with quite a few, and the one I like best is Scivation Extend. I bought cheap, generic, no-name, plain BCAAs before from a cheap bulk website, and it was pretty shocking how terrible it was. Unless your strategy is to nauseate yourself with shitty tasting products so you aren't as hungry as you would be, so you can cut easier, I recommend that you actually get a quality product with quality ingredients that mix properly in water without clumping and taste good. Because if it tastes like ass, you're not going to want it. So, and I don't know what it is about BCAAs and mixability, but their mixability is very poor in most products. Yeah, and once you start getting really lean, you'll actually start to look forward to sipping on your BCAAs because this stuff, the Scivation Extend, actually tastes pretty good. So when you've been dieting and eating clean and in a calorie deficit for a long period of time, literally anything that's relatively good tastes awesome. So like sipping on no calorie BCAAs is like something I just like to do during the day when I get really lean and I have bad cravings. So let's see. As far as is fasted cardio really better than doing cardio with food in your system? There are arguments and science to back up both claims. Some would argue that the thermogenic benefits of or effects of calories in your body increasing your temperature will actually allow you to burn more fat than you would normally be in a fasted state, while others argue that completing cardio in a glycogen depleted state is the most ideal choice for maximizing fat burning. They're both valid arguments, and I have found through my own personal experience that fasted cardio does actually burn more fat than cardio with food in your system. That's just my anecdotal result. There's no science behind it. I just notice I get leaner quicker and easier when I do the same amount of cardio fasted versus the same amount of cardio with food in my system. I don't have lab studies to back me up or anything. I just works better for me. So take that for what you will. As far as the macro split you should use, now that you've decided how many calories you're supposed to eat every single day, you need to decide how to break those calories down into each of the three individual macronutrients. So basically, let's say you have a calorie goal of 2,700 calories. Of those calories, you want to set aside a percentage for protein, carbs, and fats. Many will argue the benefits of different types of dieting, such as ketogenic diets, paleo diets, carb cycling diets, super high protein, no fat, no carb diets. There's tons. The thing is, you need to try them and see what you respond best to. This isn't the answer you want to hear, I'm sure, but I'm telling you guys, the sooner you start experimenting with different diet styles, the sooner you will learn how your body best responds, and then use that method every time from now on. The last thing you want to do is follow a predetermined macro split that is so general that it doesn't even take into account the intensity of your training, how much muscle you have, how much fat you're holding, etc. So people who offer advice will say something like, they'll just generally throw out there, okay, take your calories and have 40% of those calories of protein, 40% carbs, and 20% fats, and that's the perfect macro split. Then the less knowledgeable readers will blindly follow this general suggestion under the impression that under every circumstance, that is the best macro split no matter what. Don't do this. By all means, try that split if you want, and if it works to your satisfaction, stick to it in the future. But I highly suggest you try different styles of diets over the coming years so you know what your body responds best to. For me, for example, I actually respond best to medium to high protein, high carbs, and minimal fats. Don't ask me why, but I burn way more fat at a much quicker rate when I have moderate to high carbs in my system as opposed to low to no carbs and high fats. It's really weird. I also retain more of my muscle mass than when my carb intake is low, and I'm one of those people who, when it's on low carb, I'm like dragging ass kind of thing. I tried a keto diet once, and I lost fat at a much slower rate than I had with a carb cycling approach, and I lost a pile of muscle on keto as well. However, I know tons of guys who respond amazing to ketogenic diet, so obviously it's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. For simplicity purposes for beginners, my suggestion is to pick a diet style and stick to that for the duration of your cut. Your next cut in a year or however long in the future it is, you can try a different style or stick with the same one if this one works for you. But pick one and stick to it and see how it works for you. But remember that overall calorie intake will ultimately determine, for the most part, how much fat you lose. So the macro portioning is more for ensuring you lose the least amount of muscle possible, keeping your strength up and feeling good, and so your digestion is on point. If you're like a diabetic or something like that, obviously it isn't as cut and dry as me saying follow the split and it will give you the optimal fat burning and muscle retention possible. There are individually specific factors that come into play for people with special circumstances as well. In general, though, for the most part, if you're very overweight with lots of body fat and don't have much muscle to begin with, you would probably benefit most from a ketogenic style diet, which is it's kind of like a modified keto diet. It's kind of like moderate protein, high fat, no carb, except trace ones from leafy greens and veggies. For someone with a lot more muscle on their frame and less fat to lose, you can likely benefit most from a program that involves some sort of carbs, whether it be cycling carbs using high days, medium days, low days kind of thing. High carb days with low fat, medium protein on large body part training days like back and legs, and low carbs on smaller, less demanding days with medium fats and high protein for days like arm days or shoulder training days. And then zero carbs on non-training days with high fat, high protein, or even a totally ketogenic diet with a weekly refeed where you replenish your glycogen stores with high carbs and low fats and medium protein to preserve your muscle tissue. I find that the involvement of carbs in some capacity is beneficial for those who have a lot of muscle mass. Consistently moderate to high carb diets with medium, high protein, and low fats usually work best for those who already are pretty lean and have very fast metabolisms from having a lot of muscle mass that burns through calories at a substantially greater rate than the average male and engage in very intense heavy lifting sessions 5+ times per week. So unless you're like an individual who goes balls to the wall almost every day working out, has a bunch of muscle mass, you're probably not going to need high carb every single day. So just keep that in mind. How hard, heavy, and frequently you train, how fat you are, and how much muscle you have on your body already should all be factors you take into consideration before determining what type of diet you will be following. The importance of protein in your diet. So protein is very hyped up with a lot of people advocating high amounts of protein and cutting diets to help preserve muscle. While it is important, you by no means have to follow the strict guidelines set out in bodybuilding circles as prerequisites for your diet to not be considered inadequate or lacking. I definitely suggest having a higher protein intake in grams per day relative to your body weight than you would in a bulk phase, though, as high protein content in a diet is very necessary for muscle preservation in a calorie deficit. If you're eating a gram per pound of body weight during your bulk phase, for example, I would recommend bumping that up to like 1.5 times your body weight. While you may still respond differently than I anticipate to this type of high protein content in your diet, in general, it is more than likely that keeping your protein content high is the safest of the three macros to keep in the high range in a calorie deficit, as it will directly help prevent muscle protein breakdown when your body seeks energy from stored sources in your body, and those being your muscles, glycogen stores, and fat stores. When your body seeks energy to sustain itself and it turns to stored protein in the muscle for sustenance, having a high protein content in your diet will give your body more daily energy to tap into a protein so it won't need to resort to breaking down the lean tissue. This is a long one. What kind of food should I be eating and how do I avoid cravings and binging? I did a whole article about tricks I do for avoiding binging and cheating on diets and stuff. Your diet should be comprised of the same clean foods you eat during your bulk phase, just less of them to allow you to be at a calorie deficit. So quantity changes, not quality. I put links as well in the article to several different food lists. I have here best foods for weight loss, list of complex carbs that are best for gaining muscle, the best vegetables to eat and why, the best fruits to eat and why. Some great lists to refer to for ideas to implement into your diet. As far as tricks you should incorporate to prevent yourself from getting off track, like I said, I have a full article on that and a full video with I think it's 11 different things I do. The main thing you want to do, I'm just going to delve into it quickly in this one and just name a few things. Keeping yourself full and satiated so you don't cheat on your diet is essential. Picking fibrous carbs is a good plan of attack, as it will satiate you easier and leaving you feeling fuller. When you're full, you don't have the desire to go grab that bag of cookies in the cupboard and slam 100 of them in 10 seconds. Also, having lots of leafy greens and other extremely low-calorie veggies will allow you to eat a higher quantity of food without pushing your calorie intake past your daily goals. When I get really hungry, I like to incorporate a giant salad into my daily meal plan, as it's literally like 50 calories for a giant bowl of lettuce, spinach, and other greens and veggies, and it gets me really full and prevents me from getting cravings. I like to have diet pop sometimes. Probably not the best thing health-wise, but it's 0 calories, so it's diet-friendly. Yeah, go check out the article, though. Honestly, I have them, like, quite a few listed in elaborate detail about where you can get them, why I like them, blah, blah, blah. So, will fat burners help? Do you recommend one? Yeah, if your budget allows it, a good fat burner will not only increase the amount of calories you burn per day, but it will provide you with appetite suppression that can be exponentially helpful in maintaining the willpower to avoid cheating on your diet. There are 2 recommended ones that I like. One of them is the Code Red Fat Burner by Enhanced Athlete, and I like Red Burner by Red Supplements as well. That's my current thing. If that changes, I guess I'll update the links in the description box or the article. But right now, I really like those ones. What if I do everything correctly but still can't lose weight? I suggest getting blood work done to see if you have a hormonal deficiency. If you literally diet 100% properly, and you're doing tons of cardio, you would taper up to all this cardio and you taper down your calories and you're training hard as hell and you're still not getting anywhere, you probably have some sort of hormonal imbalance or deficiency. I suggest getting blood work done. Check your testosterone levels, check estrogen levels, prolactin levels, as well as an analysis of your thyroid function. That doesn't mean just your TSH and T4 levels. That means your T3, your reverse T3, T3 your antibody count, all that kind of stuff, to make sure you don't have some underlying disease that's going undiagnosed. Because I know some people with like Hashimoto's, thyroiditis, autoimmune disease that is not detectable by a simple TSH and T4 test, and they've gone their whole lives miserable, low energy, not able to lose weight, all because a simple blood test couldn't tell them what they needed to because their doctor was an idiot and they didn't ask for the correct, test. So make sure you know what you're looking for and make sure you get those things checked thoroughly. Yeah, some men and women will go years with hormonal deficiencies and not even know it because they have no idea there was something wrong in the first place. And they think they just have they think their genetics suck or something like that. But it almost is never the case that you have some genetic predisposition to never losing weight. That's not really a thing. Usually it has to do with either your metabolism being slow, or you have like a hormonal imbalance or deficiency, or your diet sucks. And if you have all those things in check, there's no reason why you can't lose weight. Yeah, as far as my next installation of this type of series was the reverse dieting series or video, and I already did that, and I published it like a year ago. So if you haven't seen that, I suggest go checking it out. It pretty much details what exactly you should do once you reach your desired level of leanness, how to taper your calories back up intelligently so you don't rebound in fat gain, and then how to get back into a bulk intelligently and in a calculated way that's not going to screw up your progress that you did from your cut and make you pile on a bunch of unnecessary fat. So that was a long video. If you made it through, good on you, because that was damn long. Hope you guys enjoyed it, found it informative. Please like, subscribe, comment. I'm going to link the article below. Go check it out if you like reading instead of listening to me talk for 35 minutes. Go to moreplatesmoredates.com on the right side, the subscribe bar, punch in your email, subscribe, and I'll send you emails every time there's new article publications or special offers. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.